Hello everyone. Once again welcome to the e-learning classes of English Primary and High School Bhilavdi. Myself Mrs. Renuka Sudarshan Rotithor. This is my second session and today in this video we are going to start one of the humorous and amusing poem from class 9's English textbook. Have you ever seen? Friends, this poem is not only humorous but also full of laughter. So, welcome to the world of laughter. Here, the name of the poet is not being revealed, so the word anonymous is used. Friends, it is said that laughter is the best medicine, and it is true, and also proven that laughter stimulates our metabolism and helps to enhance our physical fitness. So, our today's poem is also full of humor, amusement, and laughter. And I'm damn sure that you will enjoy the poem. So, let's begin the journey together. See, your friend here on the screen, your friend is also very happy and even curious like you to know what actually the poem is about. Okay. Now, before starting the poem, have you ever seen? You must know that this poem is very humorous and even it is also called as a brain teaser. Brain teaser means to think in an unconventional way, means in a way which doesn't follow the rules or in a logical way. And you must also know that why this poem is so humorous. So we know that in English language we see that one word has several meanings, and when one word is used in different sentences the meaning might be different of the same word, right? So the poet has created an amusing effect by playing around with such words. This play on words is called as pun, or we can say them as homographs too. Now let's see further in detail about the words and how the poem is made humorous over here. We are going to discuss the poem line by line with its glossary, figures of speech, rhyme scheme. But before that, we have a brief talk about the poem. So, this poem is an interesting and amusing poem where the poet has made use of plenty of pun to create humor. It is full of fun and pun and it makes imagination run wild. Means from this we come to know that this poem is full of pun, the homographs are used and pun is created, fun is created and it is basically written to stretch our imagination. So, puns are a clever play of words. They show the richness of the language and the wittiness of the one who creates them. The purpose of the pun is to create light humor. In pun, the words with the same spelling or pronunciation are used in such a way that they convey more than one meaning. The figure of speech involved is called pun. Just have a look on the example. The box is matchless. Here, the word matchless means without a match and also incomparable. Means the word is same, the meaning is different. The pronunciation is same, the spelling is same, but the meaning is different. This is called as pun. Even you are little bit confused about the pun, let's have another definition which is as equal to pun, that is homographs. See, words that have the same spelling but differ in the meaning when used in different contexts are called homographs. Might be you have heard about homographs, homophones, homonyms. So, when words have the spelling, same spelling, but differ in meaning, they are called as homographs. So, we will see the example. See the first example, a temple fair attracts a lot of crowd and her performance in the test was fair. If you see, the first fair means exhibition and the second fair is satisfactory. See the second example, a rose is the king of flowers and the sun rose with a golden glow. Here the first rose means a flower and the second rose is the past tense of rise, rise, rose, risen. Okay. For coming to the third example, Mr. Bakshi asked us to park our car outside the gate and Have you been to the new children's park in town? The first park means to park the vehicle, and the second park is the children park where the children enjoy a lot. These are called as homographs. And now you might have come to know that in this poem the poet has used homographs, pun, and he has made this poem literally a wonderful poem and a poem full of humor. Before analyzing the poem line by line, we will first recite it. So let's begin. Have attention. Have you ever seen? Have you ever seen a sheet on a riverbed or a single hair from a hammer's head? Has the foot of a mountain any toes? And is there a pair of garden hose? Does the needle ever wink its eye? Why doesn't the wing of a building fly? Can you tickle the ribs of a parasol or open the trunk of a tree at all? And the teeth of a rake ever going to bite? Have the hands of a clock any left or right? Can the garden plot be deep and dark? And what is the sound of the birch bark? Coming to the tone of the poem is very humorous. When you analyze the poem, when you understand the poem, you will come to know that really the poem is full of humor. That's why the tone of the poem is humorous. Coming to the rhyming scheme of the poem, if you see the last words of the poem, bed, head, toes, hose, they rhyme with each other. So A-A-B-B. So the rhyme scheme of the poem is A-A-B-B. The another main characteristic feature or the important part of the poem or the special feature of the poem is rich in imaginary. This poem is very rich in imaginary. So let me clear what is meant by imagery. That is, imagery means the image which is created before you. So when you read out this poem, surely that the images of hammer, bedsheet, mountain, wink its eye means needle, all these images will be before you. So this is called as imagery. So in this sense, this poem is rich in imagery. Coming to the language of the poem, the language used is very simple, lucid, but little ambiguous in meaning. Means the words, each word has two meanings. So you have to understand it, you have to minutely observe the words and you should get the meaning. Then only you will enjoy the poem very nicely. Now moving further, let's see what the poet wants to explain us from these two lines of the poem. Have you ever seen? Have you ever seen a sheet on a riverbed or a single hair on hammer's head? So see the first line, riverbed. Here the meaning of the bed is, the two meanings are there. One meaning is the bed which is in our home, that a piece of furniture, and another meaning of the bed is river bed, means bottom of the bed. So poet is asking here that how we spread bed sheet on the river bed. How we spread bed sheet on the bed at our home. In the same way, have you ever seen a bed sheet on the river bed? Yeah. So from the second line, keeping common, have you ever seen common too? Or a single hair on a hammer's head. Here the poet is asking us that have you ever seen a single hair on hammer's head? Head. The two meanings of head. Head means one is the human head and another is the head of the hammer. If you can see here, yeah, this is called as the head of hammer, this part. So how we can see hair on human head, in the same way, have you ever seen hair on the hammer's head? Have you ever seen? Yeah, so funny, no? Very intelligently the poem has used his words and he had made this poem very humorous. Moving further, he is asking us, has the foot of a mountain any toes? And is there a pair of garden hose? Let's see from these two lines what the poet wants to say. Has the foot of a mountain any toes? Toes. Toes have two meanings. Foot of a mountain. Foot of a mountain means the base of the mountain, and foot means human foot. How for the human foot there is toe. The toes are there. In the same way, the poet is asking us that for the foot of a mountain has any toes? Means the base of the mountain is called as foot. And does this mountain foot has any toes? He is asking to us. And in the next line, and is there a pair of garden hose? Hose. Hose means a flexible tube, or another meaning of the hose is a pair of stockings. You can see here the image that this is the hose which is used to water the plant, the flexible tube. And another picture or the image is stockings, means socks. So normally socks they come in pair. In the same way he is asking us that the hose, the flexible tube or the garden hose, is there any pair for the garden hose? They come in pair. We use them in a pair. In this way he has made this line very humorous. Now in the next lines, does the needle ever wink its eye? Why doesn't the wing of a building fly? Here in this line the poet is asking us that have you ever seen the needle ever wink its eye? Wink. The meaning of the wink is closing or opening of one's eye as a gesture of joke or an indication of a secret. And another meaning is, here is the eye, winking. So eye means the hole you can see here in the needle from where we put the thread. It is called as the eye, the needle's eye, and also the human eye. So how the human eye or the human beings they can wink their eye, in the same way he is asking that have you ever seen that the needle ever wink its eye? So funny, no? It's a very interesting line, and even I too like this line very much. In the next line the poet is asking us that why doesn't the wing of a building fly? Here wing, if you see in the image the towers you can see. So for each tower it is named, it is called as a wing. When in a big campus different towers are there, for each tower it is called as a wing, and even the names are also given, that wing A, wing B, wing C, even to identify them. So here the poet is asking that when the building has its wings, and why doesn't it fly? In the next image you can see that these are the wings of the bird. So how the bird fly with the help of the wings? In the same way he is asking that with the wings the building has its wings, and with those wings does the building fly? Have you ever seen the building flying? No. Students, there is no need to give answer because the writer is not expecting answer from us. Just he want to feel the language, enjoy the language and enjoy the words which he has used very intelligently and very humorously to make this poem humorous. Moving further, the poet is asking us, can you tickle the ribs of a parasol and open the trunk of a tree at all? Here ribs. Ribs have two meanings. Ribs means long curved bones forming the rib cage, and another meaning the ribs support the canopy of the umbrella. You can see here the image, the rib cage of a human, and another rib is, you can see the lines, the canopy of umbrella which is supporting the canopy of umbrella. It is the ribs of a parasol, and parasol means umbrella. So he is asking that tickle the ribs of a parasol. How you tickle the human beings? How you tickle the ribs of the human? Tickling means light touch to the part of the body which causes laughter. So when you touch the body, the laughter is created. In the same way, if you touch the ribs of the parasol, can you tickle it? Can you make the parasol to dance, or can you make the parasol to laugh? Very interesting poem it is, isn't it? In the next line, and open the trunk of a tree at all. The poet here is asking that how we open the trunk. Here the trunk means the box, the wooden box, or you can see in the image the steel box which is used for a storage. How we open its door, or how we open the box to keep something in it. In the same way the poet is asking that can we open the trunk of the tree? Trunk means the middle part or the main part of the tree. Is it possible? Have you ever seen in such a way? Yeah, I know you are giving answers over there, sitting over there. No, definitely you are enjoying the poem. Further, are the teeth of a rake ever going to bite? And have the hands of a clock any left or right? See, here Again the poet is very humorous and he is asking us that, are the teeth of a rake ever going to bite? Rake, a garden tool with a row of pointed teeth fixed to a long handle used for collecting grass. You can see here in the image, this is the rake and you can see these are called as the teeth of a rake. And another teeth means the human teeth. So human teeth, how the human teeth bite, in the same way the poet is asking us that, have you ever seen the teeth of a rake are going to bite? Is it possible? Next, in the next line, have the hands of a clock any left or right? See how the human hands have left and right. You can say that this is left hand or this is right hand. In the same way, poet is asking us, then can you identify the hands of a clock as left and right? This is left hand, this is right hand. Is it possible? No. No, my dear children, it is not possible, because the hands of the clock, they don't have any left and right, and because they rotate in 360 degrees. But human hands, they don't rotate in 360 degrees. That's why we cannot say that the clock has left hand or it is its right hand. Might be you have understood how the words are used here, how the play on words is going on in this poem. Now we will move to the next point. In the next line, 2 lines, the poet is asking us, can the garden plot be deep and dark? And what is the sound of the bird's bark? Have you ever seen common? Have you ever seen the garden plot be deep and dark? Here, plot. The plot has 2 meanings here. Plot means a piece of land. You can see the plot, piece of land. And another meaning is an evil or wicked plan. You can see in the films, in dramas or in stories, there is a plot. The plot of the story which is very dark and deep and which is very evil, very wicked. So, in that way, the poet is asking us that how the plot in the film or drama is very deep and dark. In the same way, the garden plot is also deep and dark. Is it there? Is it the garden plot is deep and dark? Yeah. Then moving to the next line, and what is the sound of the bird's bark? Birch is a type of a tree here. You can see here in the image. Bark. And the word bark has 2 meanings. Bark, tough protective covering of a woody stem. The outer covering of a tree is called as bark. And the another meaning of the bark is the dog's bark. So here the poet is asking us that how the dog bark, in the same way does the birch also bark. The outer covering of the birch tree also bark. Is it possible? Is the unliving thing can do all these things? No. But here the homographs are used and the pun is created by using words. The fun is created and to make us enjoy the poem, for this it is created. So by seeing all these sentences and questions, might be you are confused like your this friend, that all these questions are in his mind. But remember, the poem is not to make you confused. The poet has not written this poem to confuse the students, but instead he has written, the main aim behind this poem is to stretch your imagination skill, and you must know the beauty of the language, that how the English language is and how beautiful and wonderful the language is. Isn't it clear? No? Okay. Moving to the figures of speech. The 4 main figures of speech we can see in this poem. Detailedly one by one we are going to discuss. Figures of speech are to enrich the poem or to enrich the beauty of the poem. So in this, the first figure of speech, very important in this context of the poem, is interrogation. Interrogation is, in this, a rhetorical question is asked for exaggeration or to cause a deeper thinking, and it is not for getting answer. The answer is not expected, just the question is asked. So, have you ever seen a sheet on the riverbed? Or why doesn't the wing of a building fly? Coming to the next figure of speech is pun. Already we have discussed about the pun. Pun means play on words. Means multiple meaning of words or similar sounding words are used for humor or rhetorical effect. Can you tickle the ribs of a parasol? And is there a pair of garden hose? Here you can see the play on words. The word which is used here, it has double meanings and it is used to create humor. The next figure of speech is personification. Personification is the figure of speech in which inanimate objects or things are given human qualities. So just see the example. Has the foot of a mountain any toes? Toes is the quality, or for human foot there are toes, but here this quality is given to the mountain. Or in the second example, does the needle ever wink its eye? Wink. To wink is the quality of a human eye, but this quality is given to the needle here. Coming next, alliteration. Alliteration is the figure of speech in which the sound of the letters are repeated to give musical effect in the poems. If you see the example, or a single hair on a hammer's head. Here, the sound of H is repeated. And in the second sentence, or open the trunk of a tree at all, the sound of the letter T is repeated for musical effect. So this figure of speech is alliteration. The next figure of speech is antithesis. Antithesis is the figure of speech in which the opposite ideas or words are placed in same sentences to draw the attention of the reader. This is used to draw the attention of the reader. If you see the example, have the hands of a clock any left or right? Here left and right is the opposite word. Opposite ideas are kept together in one same sentences. So students, we have done with all things. We have done with the poem, we have done with the glossary, difficult words, figure of speech, tone of the poem, everything we have done. We understood the poem very well. So we have done with the poem. Thank you for watching my video. Thank you once again. Thank you all of you.